Well, hello, chat, and my fellow dreamers and creatives. So tonight, if you had caught my ads on my social medias, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook, I am on way too many platforms. It's the price you pay to try and get yourself out there. But anyway, I was talking about that I was going to be drawing in real time tonight this No Man's Sky piece. Which kind of just came to me a couple days ago. I was just kind of sketching around, trying to get used to using the Wacom tablet again. And it just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing this. That solves my problem, trying to figure out what I was going to showcase. Because last week, if you caught my stream, and if you didn't, it's also on YouTube, because I repost these. So people who are not watching the stream sometimes can catch them later. I was showcasing some of my fan art that I've done throughout the years, and some of them recently, a couple old pieces. And if you're curious about that, you're welcome to join me on my YouTube channel, and you can catch it there. There are also some shorts and stuff on TikTok that's showcasing some things. But like I said in my videos, and like I said during the ad for this, that I'm going to be breaking down the process of how I'm going to put this together. Pretty much the types of things that artists normally don't share. Because let's face it, art is a personal thing, and you usually don't like showcasing your art when it's in sketch form, or some artists don't care, but I'm one of those that's like, it makes me nervous. You know, I get a little anxious because I'm showcasing my work, and it's not finished, and it's not pretty, and it's not done. So it's definitely an adjustment. I'm happy that I can do this, but it's definitely been an adjustment to get real time. But I want you guys to see from the beginning that everything starts from somewhere. Now, as you can see with a lot of my art and everything too, this was like a quick sketch. Artists do different things. Some artists are very loose with their sketch. I'm a little bit more looser when I use a pencil. But in digital form, I can see it a little bit better because of my eyes, and I can get it cleared out and everything, so it's like more noticeable. So I want to like detailed it out a little bit more over here, you know, like they might notice this, you know. Also, this is the way, as I've stated in my previous videos, this is the way that my mind works. I see the outline or the contour of things. I see all the lines into like all these little lines and stuff were in the cloth on his arm and stuff right here, and I'm like scribbling and shading and stuff to let my mind know that, hey, this is where I'm going to shade. This is where the light sources would be hitting. Or possibly because all of this can completely change. Because at the beginning, when you're doing a sketch and you're laying a piece out, you know, for me, and again, every other artist is different, but for me, it'll change as I go. I'll put some lines down and everything and try to figure out how I wanted to do it. And ironically enough, this started, and I'm going to show you real quick, I took out the background, everything, and this was a screenshot from my last live stream for game night last Friday with me and Puma. And I was taking a picture of the base. I was talking about my base and how I put it together and showcasing a few things. But I was looking at all this, and I liked that it's just like he was saying something. Like his face, even though there is no face, he was saying something to me. And I gave it some more thought. I sketched it out, and I, ended up with, if you guys are not aware of No Man's Sky, one of the main things is the atlas, and they use this little thing, and I'll show you a better picture of this little geometric shape where the atlas is inside. And I was like, oh, wouldn't that be pretty cool to have like a reflection on the visor where he's flying in, maybe in his cockpit. So I drew the little chair behind him or sketched it out. I did some perspective lines and stuff and everything to kind of like put you inside the box of the cockpit itself, even though I have no idea what that was going to look like yet. But I wanted to put down what I like to say a placeholder, a marker for when you're building up stuff. And I wanted to give like this whole composition, like he's flying through space. He comes across the atlas for the first time, and it's just this that blank expression that he has basically from the helmet, and just have that reflection over the Atlas over here, just off in the distance, you know, with the red aura going around it, some stars. And I had a suggestion from one of my cohorts who suggested Puma suggested that maybe put like a tri-nebula over here, which I think that's a cool idea. I might give that a shot. So I know that's going to take a while. Now, when I was sketching all this out, you can see all this was very loose. And when I got to the helmet originally, I was like, oh, it's so loose. It's going to be so mechanical. It's got to be precise. I mean, some artists don't care about that. Some artists would be like, nah, you know, I'm just going to draw it. You get what you get. You know, I don't care about those things. Well, I'm OCD and I'm crazy. So I have to have everything correct. So what I did, I used the pen tool to get started with it. And let me take the visor out and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So as you can see, it's more precise here. So I was using the pen tool in Photoshop to try to give it. This is when the pen tool can be useful. When you're trying to give like very mechanical lines, especially since Photoshop is a raster program and not a vector. So it's hard to emulate that. And, you know, I can do it by hand a little bit, but not always. So I do like the fact I can have the pen tool, and I was putting this together. And here's the other thing, a little trick to let you guys know if you guys do art yourself or whatnot. Here's half of the helmet. So I did half of the helmet, and then what I did was I copied it and pasted it over and kind of adjusted it so it would try to match up with the reference I was using, and putting it all together and everything. And as you can see, it's very mechanical, it's very clean, it's very precise, and it took a long time to do that. So I was like, I really don't want to do the whole piece this way, and I don't want to draw the other side, but to try to match that up. So one of the things I've learned is like, well, I can do half of it, and then I can copy and paste it, and then I can adjust it in Photoshop and manipulate the image, warp it a little bit and everything, so I can make it together. And since I drew it and I didn't just copy something, I don't feel bad about doing that, because that's my asset. As I stated before, you use what you can use to make things work. And as you know, it's like it wasn't completely flat. I turned it, but there's a couple things that are off with it. I think one, I drew in the lines for where the paint would be. My Wacom doesn't like to go up there. So you can see here, there's these two paint lines that go over for like the markings and everything. So, and because I draw every line I see, I drew all this in. But it feels like it's a little off, like it's over to the right, maybe just too much. Maybe it needs to be moved a smudged over. So that's something I had to consider. And then when I was drawing this in and sketching all this out, I noticed that this one was a little smaller and it had the antenna there, and then this one was seemed to be a little bit more correct, where it's kind of, they don't really go completely straight back. The antennas kind of fold out, as you can see in the reference. You know, they kind of go out here, but again, I erased this out of a background off a screenshot, so it's really hard to tell. But and then I had the names of the characters, and there was an Xbox symbol here. So when I was drawing this originally, I didn't know. I was like, why does this one have a circle and this one doesn't? And I'm like, oh, it's an Xbox symbol from the game. Whoops. So, but then, like I said, you know, quickly putting this stuff in. So I think this piece is going to end up becoming a mixture of hand-drawn for the cloth and a few other pieces. And then I probably, because of the mechanicalness, and this is just my personal way of figuring it out, the mechanicalness of it I would probably be using the pen tool for a lot of this to kind of give it more preciseness, you know, especially down here on this little tech right here, the little glowing thing. I would probably definitely use a spear or whatever to try to make it match up, because you guys can see there's a lot of like mechanical stuff, because it is a 3D model, and 3D models and 2D art don't always translate well. If you are like one of my cohorts, Kojima Powered, who does 3D art, He does a lot of 3D models, and what I've learned from him, from his time, and he's also a 2D artist. He can do a lot of things, but his translation going from 2D, which is a flat image, and it has really no dimension. I mean, we give you the illusion with perspective and everything to make it hopefully feel like it has some depth in it. But when you transfer that over, it doesn't always do well. It doesn't always translate well. So you have to make adjustments. So if you're going in the reverse, where you're taking a 3D model such as this and you're going backwards, like you see right here, you can tell this is 3D. You can tell this is not really cloth. There's some things there. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to mimic that in the style that I will be doing, to make it, hey, there's cloth here, there's folds, blah blah blah, but it won't probably end up looking exactly like that. So close, but that's the thing about different medias. But going back to like using the pen tool and shapes, the way my mindset is with it, it's kind of like if you're doing traditional art, and I used to use, I still have them all. I have tons of templates, like little spear templates, triangles, rulers, straight edges, T-squares, whatever, to try to give those lines, especially like in mechanicalness or in buildings or in certain perspectives. It's kind of using the same thing, it's just in a digital form. So that's the way my mind wraps around it. I don't know about yours, if you're an artist yourself, or I'd be curious to see what you guys think. But let me break down a little bit more about the piece, and then I'm gonna get into the artwork. But I didn't want to just pop up a stream, sit here and draw, and not tell you what was behind it. Like, what was my thought process? Why am I drawing this? Why should you even care about watching me sit there and draw? There's tons of artists out here. I don't have to watch you. But that's one of the points I wanted to try to make, is that not just to talk to people that are artists and try to correlate and network and, grow together as a community, but also the people who are not aware about art. Most of the time you guys who are not artists per se, or don't do art on this type of thing or whatever, you and your pen tools. Yeah, I love my pen tools. Silent Joe knows how much I love my pen tools. So, because I'm just crazy. And you don't have to be that way. Silent Joe is one of my cohorts. He does not use the pen tool. He does everything by hand. He doesn't have that crazy mentality like I do. But now I'm completely thrown off track. He got me, the ADD kicking in. But I wanted to showcase to people who don't know art, that don't maybe do it or have an appreciation for it, a love for it, that there's certain things we do as artists that come in a different variety of packages or different ways, different medias, and it takes a long time to do this stuff. Yeah, 2D is for my taste. Yeah, and that's another thing too. If you guys are catching the chat right now, Joe's talking about it's very tedious work. It is. Using a pen tool is very tedious. It's like, it's not really drawing for some people. But I've been doing it for so long, it's a second hand for me. So, and that's why I tell people, you do what you do. Find what works for you. Find what tools, what markers, paints, art, digital, whatever, pencil, whatever you gotta do to do your art, just do it. But for people who don't know how to do art, or don't take the time to do it, or it's a hobby and stuff, even they know it's a struggle to get all this put together and stuff. And it's an interesting process, I think, too, to see a flat 2D image of all these shapes and lines and stuff that mean nothing come together in a cohesive way to form an image, form an image in a sense. I'm trying to think of a better word. To come together and form something that's not real. It's an illusion. I mean, all these lines and stuff. Like, I saw an artist recently that was sent to me where they took these scribble lines and they were scribbling, and then he took a metal cylinder and put it right there next to the paper where he's drawing, and these little scribble lines turned into an actual portrait of a person. But when you look at the paper, it was all scribbles. So that was fascinating. You know, as artists, we come up with all kinds of crazy ways to do stuff. That, my friend, would be too tedious to try to make that work. But let's get back to the piece before I keep rambling on, because we're here to do some art. All right. So the visor, I did sketch that in and everything. And at first I wasn't certain exactly how I wanted to put this together. You know, like I was looking at, I'll show y'all some of my reference that I have. So we've seen this one, and that's pretty much the staple that you guys would see on a lot of the promo art for No Man's Sky. It's used pretty regularly, and I was like, well, that's probably more identifiable. And then there is what they call the messenger of the Atlas. And I thought, well, that sounds kind of cool. It's got these wavy little lines, these energy particles, this effect, it's in an asteroid. That might actually work. So I could use that one. Or this is one of the images of one of the inside, when you're inside the Atlas platform. And that's why originally my head went to, the character was standing in this structure right there in front of the Atlas, and one of the versions that you see, because there's many versions, and sit there and reflect that back at him. But I was like, he's not really posed correctly for that. I would have to make some adjustments since I'm going with this, but then again, I might change it. So I just wanted to show you guys that reference and stuff. The whole process as you're trying to put together this composition. So is he going to remain inside a ship cockpit and be looking out into space at the out? Who knows? Maybe, more likely. But then again, I might change it, because this is the beginning of the process. This is the raw starting of it, where you're just putting down lines, you're just filling things out, you're just trying to get an idea of what it's going to be. And sometimes, as a good artist told me one time, you let the piece speak to you. You let the piece tell you what it is. What's it going to be? And you try to find this happy merger between the two of it. And where you are dictating some of the piece, and the piece is also dictating to you. And you just go with it until you finish it. Or at some cases, don't. Some pieces never get done. Some things, like I showed on my last stream, I had a Gears of War fan art that I have been back and forth for years. I probably could get it done pretty quickly if I took time, but there's just something about that piece that doesn't like me, and I don't like it. And eventually we'll come to a resolve, but maybe. Or I'm going to be like Leonardo da Vinci on my deathbed, you know, he's screaming about the horse, you know, I never get to finish the horse. I'll be like, the Gears of War piece, burn it. I'll never see it again. Anyway, so I'm going to take this fan art reference. What is fan art? I don't know. I know that it doesn't show the windows still on OBS, because I'm not using, I think I figured out what that was. Let me double check. Yeah, it's still not showing, so it's not going to block y'all's view for me to have the reference in the corner. I'm using the window capture thing, so it's just capturing one window. And at first I was like, well, I could go display and y'all can see everything, but again, it may be too distracting. I don't know. Maybe not. So I'm going to adjust to that as we go along. I'm going to wait for people's feedback on that. But let me stop rambling again and get to work. It's one of those days. Oh, man. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well, as always. I hope you have having a good week so far. I know I've been super busy with everything. I dropped so many clips and stuff and videos and stuff for things, working on commissions and everything else. So, and then also having a full-time regular job on top of all that. So probably lots of lack of sleep here and there. All right, so what I'm gonna do with this, so since this is kind of like to me is a sketch to build upon, I'm gonna knock down the opacity. Wow, I really put some darkness in that, and kind of take that out for a second, And let's take those ellipses out too that are around that, so that won't be so distracting. And let's just focus on the cloth, and we're going to build up on that, because that's where kind of feel like I'm going right now. Chair's not really important right now either. So let's just focus on that. So I'm going to make a new layer on top of the one I have over here. I know you guys should be able to see this. So I have like SK, and my thing stands for, to me, tells me it's sketches. So I'm going to do another top on this. And let's go ahead and see if we can draw with the ink line instead of trying to go in reverse, where I got some more penciling. I might go back and forth. Like I said, this is the process you guys see. This is how I work. It's a little bit of everything sometimes. So, and that's art. That's what art is. All right, let's see. We're on, and that was another thing too, the brushes. Let's see. See, this is on a technically an 11 by 17 piece of paper, kind of like standard Bristol comic book size paper. So this is a pretty big image. So that's another thing that's, I gotta get the right size brush to match up with everything. Kind of. All right. Oh, you're not gonna let me rotate? What? I had this problem last time too, where the thing would not let me rotate again. What is going on? Well, then we do it the fun way. Yes. And I know I'm not doing it precise. So right now I am looking over here. There is the image of the character over here to the right. So I'm kind of like judging a few things and seeing how I like that. And this is why, another reason, I use the pen tool sometimes, because since it won't let me rotate the canvas for some reason, I'm not sure why. I'm going to try it one more time. No? You won't let me rotate. That is so weird. I wonder when it started doing this. I might have to get with Adobe about that, I guess. There we go. So, a few layers and stuff. So I'm looking at the way all this is set. And I do like the very thick. I've been trying, since my line work is so heavy at times, I've been trying to get it to be using less of, yeah, no rotation. Yeah, it won't rotate at all. I'm hitting R and it will not let me rotate it. Frustrating. So for you guys who are not aware, when I was on my laptop, when that's all I had the same problem where my laptop could not handle the rotation for some reason. And I even talked to Adobe about it, and they were like, "It's just your processor, blah blah blah." And I'm like, so I had to start to get these thick to thin lines, and I'm drawing on a Wacom tablet where my XP Tim tablet, that's a whole other story if you've seen my videos about this video card. But you're looking at the screen when you're doing it. You're not looking at what you're doing here, so I can't like rotate this thing and make it do it like I can on the other tablet, which would be nice, but the laptop couldn't handle it, so I had to come up with a creative solution to do this. And sometimes I had to use the pen tool, and I'll just show you guys real quick. And this is why Silent Joe knows how much tedious this is. Okay, so I'm gonna make this curve right here. Now, because it's the pen tool, when I stroke this and turn it into an actual line, let's zoom in for a minute. You see how the difference. So I have this little bump right here, which I would have to redo that. Also too, if you notice the lines when I'm doing them by hand, they're tapered off, where they come to like a thin point, and they're a lot prettier looking. This, to accomplish that same thing, you have to take the eraser tool and not do it that way. It's got to be like really small and kind of erase it out to give the illusion that you did it by hand. And as you can see, it's a lot of work to do that. So and I don't like that little bump. So this used to take me a lot longer to do that, and that's why even when I was like, well, I'm just going to draw it, because I still draw in pencil. I still prefer a pencil line than working digitally. I just like doing ink digitally because I'm so tedious about things, and I'm like, oh, it has to be this way, and and if I screw up or I make different choices, I can erase that really easily, and I do not harm, like I did in the past, my pieces. I don't destroy them, or trying to spend all this time with some whiteout or white ink and to fix the problems just like they used to do back in the day. That was always fun. Well, that's a kind of cool line, just probably not in the right spot from what I can see on the reference, but it's a nice line. Hey, there we go. And you see, I even know I went into the asset of whether his little chest plate thing is going to be. I can easily just erase that out. It's no big deal. I mean, I love that. I love that I can do that and just get that natural flow of that arm, of just be able to swipe it down and have that little point and everything, and not have to worry about, oh god, I gotta paint over this, I gotta fix this. That's one of the reasons why I like to do stuff digitally, just in general. Let's see. Now, this one looks a little bit odd to me. It seems like that goes there. That's going to be interesting. Now this one, it might try, since it goes all the way around, I am going to switch back and forth. Alright. This is going to be a wide arc, and since I can't rotate, I guess it's a good thing I learned how to use the pen tool. Goodness. And that's another thing I was telling people, it's like all these little, when technology works, it's great. When it doesn't, Alright, let's go with that. Okay, so again, from the reference, he does have this like nice little curve here, where it buns out, and there would be shadow right about here, so I will fill that in with a color when I go to do the tones to make that more pronounced and everything. But this will work for now. Like I said, I probably will go back and tweak it a few times, because that's just the way I am. But unless I'm doing stuff for a client, like I said in one of my other videos, if you are, when you're doing stuff for yourself, you can take all the time you want, because it's on you, unless you're trying to make a living. But if you're working for somebody and you got to get it done, you better get the work done. So when I work for people, it gets done, even if I'm not always happy with the process. So, but yeah. But instead of, like, I had somebody say, well, why did you learn to do it this way? Why even bother? I said, well, I didn't have the ability to do it, just like right now. So instead of being defeated by it, instead of saying, well, I just can't do what I want to do, I don't have this, I don't have that, I decided to change that and to focus on, what can I do? How can I make it work? It's just like back in the day where creators and stuff were doing work for like Warner Brothers, where they needed certain sound effects and stuff. And I've done a little bit of making my own sound effects for my audio narrations, so I do enjoy that. And it's kind of neat. Foley is an interesting kind of art in itself, where you take the most random thing that you would never think would work together, like for cocking a gun. It's actually like a lock or a key lock that's like where you put a bolt or whatever, and you just choo for a door. One of the coolest things I got to do that I figured out was the sci-fi door that goes whoosh, whoosh. And all that was a piece of paper moved very quickly, and that's it. And you adjust it a little bit, you make a little changes, and I put a fire extinguisher sound with it, lowered it down, and the door was like and it sounded like this cool sci-fi door. Of course I was like, oh wow, this is so cool. It's the little things sometimes. All right. Yeah, we'll do it precise on that one too. Just to kind of throw all this together. Also, because I forgot to mention, the music that you're hearing looping in the background comes from Kevin MacLeod, who I have been using his music for many years. I'm a big fan of his. I really love a lot of the stuff he's done. It's very impressive. And I love the fact that he has a Creative Commons license for his work, which is, you know, in a sense, royalty free. But he does like to get credit because there is some kind of, I'm sure, financial gain somewhere in there. And I know people use his stuff all the time and they don't put his name in it, which is frustrating for any type of artist, especially one who's kind enough to let you use their work for your own work. And so I always like mention that who he is and stuff. So in the music, eventually, like I said, I will get some other musical services to use, because I know there's some other really good ones out there. I just haven't taken the time because I hadn't had it. If you guys know of any good music services or anything like that, I know a couple of them, like Nick Nimes thing on YouTube, who does YouTube video, telling people, you know, how to make videos, how to be a better influencer or whatever. And he's really good. He's a really good guy. I think him and his brother have a music thing, if I remember. There was another one I saw when I was looking up videos for OBS, trying to learn how to do that on YouTube, and the guy was talking about his services or where you could go. I know there's a variety of them, and so that's just something else I got to look into. But yeah, I always like seeing what everybody else is doing. Like, well, where do you get your stuff? What do you like hearing? What's something that gravitates with you? You know? Alright, let's control. So, a little bit different. I like the fact that it's more, the lines are a little bit more spread out and not as condensed as it was in the sketch there. They kind of feel a little bit more natural flow than, you know, this right here, where it's kind of, you know, jumbled. Of course, it's, you know, cross-hat, you know, it's scribbles trying to put stuff down really quick with gestures. But yeah, I kind of like the way that's looking. I might stick with that for a little while. So let me go over here to the reference though, and I need to see this arm. So I'm gonna go over here to this part. This Wacom does not like to go. It has a small field of where the pin will register, and for some reason, I guess because I'm using a television for a monitor right now, it doesn't always register. It doesn't want to go up past the where you would click on the files and stuff. So, first world problems. Let's see. Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, I really wish I could rotate right now. I got to the point where I was so used to doing it, but that's the way it goes. That is the way it goes sometimes. So, yeah. I'm looking at the reference. Like, wait a minute, did I do that right? Yeah, maybe. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. That's not close enough. Yes, in Control Z in Photoshop, he's your friend for life. I love how my space bar also. I got this really cheap on keyboard for yeah, I think it's ONN keyboard at Walmart, and you know, I don't have a lot of money, so but it's like, I don't know, like 20 something bucks or something, and I knew it wasn't going to be like super great, but the space bar, I don't know if you guys can hear that clicking, it sticks. It lasted like a week before it stopped, and I'm like, man, this is some cheap crap. I don't think this one is really necessary. See, I'm seeing a line out of the shadow that's not actually there. It's just a shadow. So this would actually be, or a tone, as it were. So, yeah, I do go back and erase a lot of stuff out. My very first art teacher in high school talked about all the time using your eraser as a drawing tool, not just to clean up your crappy mistakes, but to use it as another means of your drawing, just like anything else. It doesn't have to just be for cleanup, especially as you learned when I was at the Joe Kubert School years ago for a brief time. And those guys were we were doing inking type work by hand and with brushes and stuff. And God bless, some of these guys were amazing. There was an artist there named Tex, that was I think it was his moniker, and he did inking for like Green Lantern, Annie, a whole bunch of stuff, and he was amazing. Really silly old man too. I loved him. He could draw, he could ink with two hands and his feet. He could literally ink with his feet. And the story behind it was, when he was younger, he was playing tennis one day and with a friend, and he was right-handed. No, he's left-handed, I'm sorry. He broke maybe I got that backwards. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He broke his arm that he worked with. And he couldn't draw, and he couldn't ink over work, and he had bills to pay, and he had a family, and I was like, well, what did you do? When we were talking about this in class one day, and he goes, well, I learned how to draw with the other guy. Was he the guy who did that one drawing of Annie for? Yes, that was him. And that book that was lost, yes, I would love to have that back. Anyway, so like a week or so later, a couple weeks, once he's kind of gotten down a little bit on inking with his hand he never used, which he said it was okay. He's taking the groceries upstairs in their apartment, and he ends up falling or tripping or something, and he breaks the other arm. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, so I learned how to ink with my feet. And I'm like, bull. We're all like, all of us classmates, all of us in the class were standing around. We're like, that's a bull. And he was like, no, really. And he takes his shoes off and his socks, and he puts the ink brush in his toes and literally inks better than I can do here. And he's like, yeah, I can do all of it. You figure it out. You don't use excuses that I can't work. You find what works and just do it. So that always stayed with me. Old Tex, he was funny. He was a funny guy. A really good guy. And a lot of those cats, like Fernando Ruiz, I always say his name wrong. I know I butchered that man's name. And a lot of the artists that I met there at the time, this was back in 1997. Yeah, I'm old. They were just amazing at what they could do. And I did learn a lot of interesting things that stayed with me later in life. I left there because I was 18 at the time, and I had not put in the time and effort as some of my other fellow artists did, and I was really behind. And I got so upset about it because I was just so frustrated that I wasn't good enough, and that's another thing we artists have problems with. We never feel, even if people tell you you're fantastic, some of us, like me, you have this confidence level sometimes where you're just kind of scared for people to see your work. You kind of don't know, are they gonna like this or not? And there's some truth to that, and there's also a lot of you just in your own head, don't worry about it. So for years, I didn't draw. For 3 years after I left there, I was so defeated in myself that it took me forever to come back at it. And that was a horrible thing to do to myself. Because think about how much farther I would have been if I had taken the time to keep going, instead of wasting that time, in my own head. And I'm sharing that because I know that's a very personal thing. And you're like, why is he talking about this? This is part of why I wanted to do stuff in real time. The things I wanted to let you know, that no matter where you are, and even if you don't do art, even if it's just something that you're passionate about that you don't feel good enough 4, that's okay. It's fine, even if it's just a hobby. It's what you love. It doesn't matter if you're the best or not. You know, are you the best for you? And that's what's important. You know, don't stay in the same level of how I put it. Don't stay in the same level of accepting where you are. Always keep pushing yourself to be more and more, to grow, because you'll get better as time goes on. You really will. And use a lot of reference. That was another thing I didn't realize. I always try to do everything from my head. I was an idiot. That is not a line. Let's see. So there's a little bit of stuff here. Back and forth. I'm also trying to keep up with the chat in case I'm missing things. Alright, let's zoom out. Let's take a look. I do like how nice these lines look to a degree, but they're not the right lines. So, not what I needed. So I'm going to have to redo that, because it looks like it's going in more than what I'm doing. So let's take a look at that. Let's just erase that beautiful little line out and get back to it. So it waves out there, and then that one goes right about there. Okay. And it's too many here. That kind of works and stuff, but the layers look wrong on that. I think that was just me sketching. So I don't think those are actually natural lines work. And of course there might be some artistic license taken with this too. Again, you know, it's not going to be completely precise. I mean, I could do it 1-to-1 if I really wanted to sit here all day, or do what some people do to get things 1-to-1, where they literally trace over it and go from there. But we're not going to do that here. I'm not that crazy yet. Yeah, see, this line's all ugly because I zoomed out when I did it. So, see, it kind of curves right there, and I'm not even following. But over here, it's a little bit where it just pinces, like it's going in that direction. Kind of like better, it's going like this in to the right, and this is falling out to the left. So I need to get that a little bit better in there. Or it's pinching into his kind of shoulder pad there. So I don't like that. No, I don't. Yeah, that I like. That's better. See, this is going to be a thicker line than what I did. So what I'll do is I'm going to erase that out. And I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger. That's too thick. Way too thick. That's closer. I think that might be more. Yeah, let's just do it that way, Jeremy. Oh. Yep. Ah. That's better. Trying to definition of his arm there. And see, when you zoom out, it's not as thick as it would be. So let's see what it would look like. Let's go to view. Actual size. Yeah. So closer up, and that's another thing too. When you're doing digital like this, especially when you can zoom in so far, it's kind of it's kind of like your rear view mirrors or your side mirrors in your car, where objects are closer than they appear. It's that sometimes it's further. So when you zoom in here, let's say over there, and you see how thick that line is compared to the other lines, right? But when I zoom out where you actually see the piece, it's not. It's really just enough to make it pop a little bit. So that's another thing too, why I always say, and I was taught by a lot of and a lot of my cohorts, creative cohorts, do the same thing. When you're drawing, sometimes it's best to stop, zoom out, or take a step away from your piece and look at it and absorb it all in and try to see what you're doing, you know, as you're putting it together. Like I noticed this line right here. I still don't like that line. That line is not right. This is right to a degree, but there's still too many lines here. There's something not flowing right about that. So, but I wouldn't have noticed it as well if I wasn't zoomed out. That's a good point of, like, you know, taking the time and looking at the piece and moving on with that. I'm gonna come back to that. So right now my instincts are telling me, all right, get away from that. Let's come back to that when we different mindset. But looking at this, I kind of wanted to bring this out. Whoa, what happened there? Oh, I'm still on eraser. Well, that's a good thing. Yeah. So let's zoom out on that. Let's take a look at that for a second. Yeah, that feels like it adds another dimension where it's popping out a little bit more. But again, I don't know. I'm gonna leave it for now. But yeah, you know, we'll see how it goes. So it's kind of like movie directors where they would frame the scene. You know, you frame the scene, which I'm doing it wrong. I think it's like a square. Yeah, and you're like framing it out. Or the other trick is to like squint your eyes and see what bleeds out and what's noticeable and stuff. That always hurts when I do that, though. Especially with bifocals. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start working on his little shoulder pads here. Again, since this is a little precise on that, I'm looking at it. So we got his neck is showing some here. So, but this needs to pop out more. There's like another layer. You can see where I kind of like scribbled it in and whatnot. And I'm gonna get it on a different layer for now, so I don't mess up any of this anymore, which I guess I did because that's been erased. I'll have to go back and fix that. Oh, tons of fun. So I'm gonna take the pen tool and we're gonna keep it at that thicker line width. And so on the reference, it curves out here. It goes right about here, and we're gonna curve that line in because it's not gonna be a straight line. We don't want it straight. That would be wrong for one, and it's not very natural. And it bumps out a little bit, like right there. It kind of curves, but again, it curves a little bit thicker than what I have. So I'm gonna move this up, and we're gonna see if we can kind of make that come out a little bit more. Let's see. Well, I don't like that. Just move that there. Yeah, and that's what happens too if you don't make another thing with the pen tool. If you guys are interested in the pen tool, if you don't put another anchor point there and you do that, it will pop it out and it will drive you crazy. Because I'm like, that's not what I want you to do. So this is going to have like 2 layers of it. So we got another line that's going to come up here. And again, this is more of a shadow than an actual line. So I wouldn't really have to do that. If you were painting it, you wouldn't have to draw that line in. But again, this is kind of the way I work. So I'm weird, as I've been told. So, and now I'm going to take the pen tool again, and I'm going to curve that out just a little bit. Kind of match up with what I'm doing to like parallel that to a degree. And so this is just one way you could do it. Now I can do it by hand, and again I might go back and redo it a few times. I don't like that little bump there, so I'm gonna put an anchor point right here. It's like you have to space it a little ways. If you get too close, it kind of messes up. So, all right. So it's stabled on that, but then it collapsed the line down. So now I gotta hit control and go back and kind of pull it back out. So this is one of the things that's like Joe was talking about, it's very tedious. So, and then I'm gonna put another anchor point here, and I'm gonna curve it down. I'm gonna curve it like this. And I do not recommend you using the pen tool if you don't have to. It's not something I say encourage people to do. But if you are like me and you like a lot of your stuff precise, you might want to. I mean, let's see. And it's hard to tell sometimes too with the lines, because when you have that sketch line underneath, and since it's getting a little hazy for some reason sometimes, I don't know why they changed that. Yes, I know. No, I did not want to do that. Thank you. Oh, yes, I totally want to do that. Yes. Goodness gracious. Alright. I'm just trying to hit enter so you will go away. Alright, so like I said, this is kind of a little bit more parallel, except that waves out here again. So, and then wasn't that noticeable until I straightened this out. So on the reference, it does kind of pop that way. So I could leave it, or again, I might go back and change it and stuff. Right now, what I'm doing is kind of just putting another layer on top of everything. So you start with the basic sketch, you start with your foundation, your mannequin, as we would say, with the head and stuff, and your body, your templates and stuff, and then you build on that, and you build the cloth on top of the body, and then you build some more, and you build some more, and you build some more. So it just goes on and on. No, I don't want to select it. Alright, let me zoom out. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. It's not the greatest. It may be a little bit too wide. I don't know. It's a start. It's better than nothing. So, alright. Now, let's see if I can go back. Wait a minute, what layer was I on? Okay. It turned off my layer. Or I did that. So I can do a wave here. Alright. I really wish I could rotate. Was not planning to show pen tool. Okay. So we're gonna make that thinner, probably 20. Go back to P for pen. Yeah, that's another thing I highly suggest you to is learn your shortcuts on whatever program you're using, and that way you can get your work done a lot faster instead of having to go over here and click on everything. You know, especially in Photoshop. I know Painter Sai and a few other programs are that way, where you can do stuff like that. This goes there, and curves back around. Ah, that's gonna be interesting. So where his arm is, it's like also I have. Okay, all right. So I'm kind of following the same line where they're going to be blending in a sense because his arm's kind of covering that up. So I'm going to follow that a little bit. This is another reason why I work on different layers. So when I do this, if I don't like it, I didn't destroy that work. Let's see. Do that. And we'll pop that out. Okay. We're gonna go. 30 was too big, if I remember correctly. We're at 25. All right. Stroke path. All right. Let's pull out. Yeah, I mean, I like the curve and everything, but I'm looking at it, and like I said, this is a problem with the pen tool. It just not always feels natural. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to delete that, and I'm gonna do it by hand. Because there's a, like, I'm looking with the reference, it goes like this and comes back out, and then goes down here and then bumps over in here, but now I'm in the side of that, so I went too far over. So let's fix that. Yeah, okay, so I kind of see it now. Maybe I should have had the other window up so you guys can see what I'm seeing. I don't know if I could switch that real quick or not. But let me just show you. I'll put it back up here. Let's get rid of all this up here so that won't be in the way. Maybe I can pull them both to the side so y'all can see them at the same time. So this is what I was talking about. Like, if you guys see, you see how it waves in through here and bumps out, because it's like it's cloth. It's not going to be this one little line, and how it comes down and it oversuits here. Like, there's part of his suit, the underneath of the cloth, and then this goes underneath his armpit, so where the chest plate connects underneath, and then you have this will pop off up in the front. So that's what I was trying to show, you know. And as you can see how the lines on the they go out like that, not in like this. So I'm gonna have to fix all that. So, but again, even though this is cut, I had cut the background out, you know, this is still like wavy. It's even this, but right here on the belt where it kind of comes in, goes back out. So that's why I say, you know, sometimes the pen tool is good for things like, especially for I hate the fact that this thing won't let me go to the top. For anything that you need to be a little bit more precise with, or mechanical wise, you know, like his helmet right here, which is going to come in handy, because I mean, again, you could leave it or not. It's really a personal preference, but yeah, interesting. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. I'm zooming in on that, on the reference, instead of what I need to be doing. Okay. Yeah, see, it's this down here, so it needs to be pumping out here. Bam, bam. Okay. Get rid of my pretty little lines. And that's another thing too. I would say one thing that I notice that we all do, and another reason why I kind of graduate towards digital sometimes. Okay, sorry, an error occurred. Great. Why are you crashing on me? Technology. Okay, let's see if we can get it back up. That is aggravating. Hopefully it auto saved. I don't know what you guys, at least you can see the webcam. Okay, so it popped back up. And okay, good. Oh, for a minute there I was like, oh, did it not save what I did? Am I gonna have to do all that over? Goodness gracious. And I've been hitting, I thought I'd been hitting control save. Yep. So, yeah. Why is it when I put it there? It's got it in the wrong location. Okay, I'm gonna just save this again. I'm glad it auto recovered at least. But I'm trying to figure out why now this line is blue. So it didn't recover all of it. It cut out a lot of what I did. Didn't it? What the heck? Yeah, y'all see this blue line that wasn't there before? Oh my goodness. What in the world did it make it blue for? Interesting. I too like blue lines. It's not even on the layer that I was drawing on either. What layer is it on? Okay, so we got all those layers closed. I have no idea. What did it put it on? I don't know if this is one of the new things with Adobe's thing. Okay, we got layer 1, layer 2, and I have no other layers, Adobe. So what layer did you put it on? All right, let's get rid of all the layers. How about the background? Wow, we just have a random blue there. What does I have questions? What in the world is this? Oh, and now it's glitching out even more. Oh, of course. Of course, when I'm sitting here trying to draw in real time. But this is part of it too. And there was much rejoicing, yay, right? I'm still very curious of what this blue line is and why is this when there is no layers open. What is it supposed to be on? There's nothing it should be on. I'm gonna make sure since that was locked. I have no idea how this line even exists. Let's go to E or erase. Nope, because the object is hidden. Well, why is it hidden? Because okay. All right, let's see if we click on the layer 2. Nope, it's not there. All right, my apologies, chat. It seems like Adobe is doing something. Nope, not there. It's not on that layer either. Wow. Nope, not on that layer. I'm not sure what it did there, chat. I really don't. I have no idea what this thing did. I don't know if it saved it as a channel or a path. All right, looks like there's a path there. Let's delete it. Yeah. Okay. So for some reason, it saved it as a path that it had. Wow. Okay. Whatever you say, Adobe. Well, that's I guess saying that I don't need to be using the pen tool on that particular thing. Oh my goodness. Well, at least it was repairable. And it wasn't something that completely killed. And let's go ahead and save it again in case it does something other craziness. Goodness gracious. And I'm going to double check the stream, make sure I'm good. Oh, wow. And this is one of the reasons why people don't like showing their work. All right. So, and I lost my reference. Wait a minute. What the heck? It opened the other one. What? Okay, let's close that. I don't even know why. Oh, because this is a recovered file. It was trying to open the first file for some reason. Because that made a lot of sense. All right, let's go back and pull up our reference here. Screenshots? Oh, I don't even have the cutout version. So this is the picture I took it from, the screenshot that I took from my stream to look at it. So we're just going to use this for now, even though I took all that time to kill it, to get rid of all that stuff that was in the way, that was unnecessary. But hey, at least you see the screenshot. You know was telling the truth. It's been a day. All right, so I'm gonna look at his. So his shoulder goes off there. I need to zoom in. Okay. Okay. I need to see the shoulder pad, please. Thank you. I appreciate you a lot. Make sure I'm on the other layer so I don't mess up things again. Yeah. See, I don't like that. See, I don't like that either. I mean, I like the line, but I don't like the fact that it did what it did. And see, and that's why I don't like doing stuff like really long lines like that without the pen tool sometimes, because it just gets really it's like my hands. I have my hands shake, which is one of my problems. But especially if I have to do part of the thing that knocked me down when I was sick, and so you adapt and move on. Well, that's the right line there, but let's just try to. Don't like it. Still don't like it. I'm trying not to have to use the pen tool hand. You're not gonna let me, are you? Alright. Okay. You're gonna be that way. No, because I need that curve there. So this is the other thing I've had to learn to do, is take the time to use this thing like I'm supposed to. Alright, so now the fun part is going to be to erase all that out, which I don't like those anyway. No, I don't want to do that. Go back to pickup path. Alright. Alright. Let's try it again. See that, see this. Oh, I know what's throwing me off, because I have erased that part out because you weren't going to see the tip of the part of where the shoulder, the costume goes over the shoulder. You don't see all that. So I'm like looking at the wrong bloody thing. Just at that. I'm like, why is it not lining up? Oh, Lord. All right. So. Play. Alright, that's getting there. Okay, so now we can go down there. And let's go ahead and put this in there. Nope. There. Alright, now I can go back and get that to work. Why are you not zooming in? Why you hate me? I don't know what layer that's on. Alright, so I got all this ugliness here now. I gotta fix all that. So I'm gonna do that. We're gonna paint this over. Try to, but again, I've been trying to force myself, as you guys are seeing, to use a more natural line instead of always doing the pen tool because of my OCD and the way I am, and just try to make it look more natural. I mean, because I think it's better that way. And I've been told too over the years that my artwork is very, like I said, very line heavy. So I've been trying to get more of a natural flow with the pencil, and that's why I love my XP pen tab, because I could do that a lot better. But I use what I gotta use. Oh, my hands. And sometimes too, like, see, I have some nerve problems, so my hands shake a lot, and especially if I'm holding still for a long time. You can kind of see it. I don't know if you guys are seeing it or not. So it's a frustration, but again, as long as I still can work, I'm gonna work. Just double checking the chat there. I'm trying to get a better habit of doing that too. I've been bad trying to get used to the fact that people are talking instead of just me rambling on and on, especially when I'm doing stuff. Because like I said, when we do art, we don't really, you kind of talk, or you talk to whoever you're working with sometimes, or you can be quiet for a long time, just sitting here drawing. And it's just lost in what you're doing and the world around you to say, oh, okay, that's why it's doing it, because I'm on 10. Ah, I see. All right. That's on layer 2. So let's just go ahead and knock that out. Yeah, so now I could go back into this and make that line thicker just to pop it out a little bit more, maybe. Or I can leave it and let the color dictate for me and put the color and stuff there. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna do it, but I think for now I'm just gonna leave it, because especially with all the problems we're having. Control save. I don't trust this thing now. Give it a second to save here. Oh, not even thinking. All right, let's go 15. Almost got that curve. Ah, we're getting there. Ah. Still. People are like, how many times is he going to Control Z that? Until I get it right. Oh. Aha! Aha! I can't be told. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I do that too a lot with the music. I always think it's a good idea to get you some pretty decent tunes while you're working. Or audiobooks are also a wonderful thing. I listen to a lot of audiobooks usually while I'm working, because I love stories and stuff, and that gives me a chance to catch up with series that I've missed or whatever, and do it that way and work at the same time. Much better. Okay. Alright, another layer. And I'm going to go through a whole bunch of layers before I'm through with this thing, I know. Oh, I like that right there. That's very natural. So, and then if I just come down, curves in too much though. It's a nice curve though. Woo! I didn't even do more curvy. Oh wow, it went to the other piece. Joys of Photoshop. Still, nice curve. It's still indenting way too much. I'm gonna try to slow it down. Nope. Goodness gracious. And you see, when I do it slow, that's what happens to my hands. Ah! Somewhat better. Yes, I'm cheating. There's no reason why I like digital. Yeah. Kind of. See, I could rotate that. So I have to keep drawing that same line over and over. And then I'll get that done there. And I'm going to zoom in. And like I said, every artist is different. Some artists don't care about this kind of stuff. It doesn't bother them. It's just me. And that's why one thing I had to learn about myself was I had to get to a point where to just be happy on the way I do things. Not get stuck in that. Not ever change. Not try to grow out of that. But just tried to do it the best way that I could, even with physical limitations and technical, whatever limitations there are, it doesn't matter. But the point of it is that you can still create and do things no matter what your limitations are. See, the top of this, let me show you. So this is not, I've still got to play with it. So let me put it back up so you guys can see. So right here, you can see where it's a little wider up top, and then it kind of curves in a little bit more. And it's a little punch over this little connects to the belt there. So there I have some of that, but again, that curve still is probably in too much, because it's not as pronounced. It kind of curves kind of like this, where it goes out and back in, where I am still going in, not out to in. So like I said, now is that a super big issue? Possibly not. If you're trying to be exact and you want to copy it basically one-to-one, yes, I would have to change that. Does it work for what I'm doing? We'll see. Like I said, it's just really just a process of putting it together, and as you form it together, as you build it, you see what you like and see if it's atomically correct. Is it correct for the assets that are on the character, the cloth, the technology, machinery, whatever, and you just kind of keep playing with it, because no one's really going to notice that unless they see that screenshot and they go, well, you didn't do it that way, you didn't have it that way. Well, was I intending to do it that way? Yeah, I'm trying to get as close to as possible, but again, I may not be able to. I may not like it as close as possible, but as long as it's visually pleasing, as they say, or it's correct, where and there's a fine line to correctness. But if you're trying to do something with anatomy or cloth, there is some things that are noticeable if you don't draw it correctly, or what we would say is the standard on the way something is perceived visually. Like I said, that's going to annoy me, and I'm probably going to fix that. I'm probably going to erase it out, but I also want to kind of just show you the process of what I do, or what artists go through, and what we do to play around, and just kind of like you're playing, you're learning. And every time you do a piece, every time you draw something, you learn something new. You learn something new about yourself. You learn something new, a new skill, a new technique. Learn something that will help you with the next piece, and this piece, and then one after that, and so forth. It's a growth thing, and it's a life's journey. It really is. All right, so I'm just going to leave that alone for now and come back to it. And that's another thing too, like when you get caught up on things and you don't like the way something looks, or you're like, oh, I just can't stand that, step away from it. Just step away from it for a few moments. You know, come back to it. It's not going to go anywhere. It's that problem's still going to be there. It's still going to aggravate you. But if you focus all your energy on trying to fix that one mistake that you made, then you're going to drive yourself crazy and you're not going to get it done. And that's when perfectionism overwrites your creativity. You know, you can't create if you're always so worried about what something is going to look like. You know, you have to be able to let yourself kind of relax. It's a process, and you're probably not going to be like me right now and showing every little mistake that you're making. You know, you're not going to showcase everything you're doing. So you don't have to worry about anybody judging you from afar. So, you know, about things. Bifocals are wonderful. Really wish I could rotate, chat. I really do. I do not know why. Hopefully I'll get that resolved. I didn't think it was going to be a problem today. Alright, so I do like these lines for the belt. The little straps. I say belt. I don't know why I'm on this belt thing. Well, it's kind of like a belt, but it's not a belt. They're straps. So this one is it's one curve right here. So let's go look at the reference. Let's take a look at the reference now that I'm not looking at the reference. All right. So we got one little curve, and then it comes in and it goes back out. So did I emulate that completely? Nope. It is one basically curve. So, but it kind of fits. It kind of works. But maybe I'll go back and change it. Because if you look at the sketch line too, like right here, I curved it in when I was just sketching and I was loose and not worried about everything. So that's another thing I kind of remember. So, but it does have the width that I'm looking for. You know, I think it's wider because this is very thick and wide. So it kind of has that, but this one goes like this. So let's say we go, let's make this circle a little smaller. So we go, then we have that line there. Then we go down here and we curve to the side. Then it bunches in here, comes up, and curves over here. Then you have where the cloth is popping out and everything. There's the buckle. It goes right in here. So I could try to emulate that better, definitely. Or I could just leave it. I'm not going to, because you know, I want to get it closer to what I see. I think that's more believable. But I'm just pointing this stuff out so you guys know it's not all these things are necessary. Because, like, I noticed it, maybe you notice it. Maybe you're watching this and you're going, man, I noticed that. That looks like crap. Or if I were to show you this piece later on when it was finished and you had never saw the reference that I use, would you notice it? That's the questions you got to kind of ask yourself when you're drawing. Too, is it going to be noticeable enough for someone to actually pay attention to? Is it noticeable enough for it stands out and I have to fix it? You know, it's stuff like that. You're juggling all these different processes in your mind on how to put something together, how to make it. And that just gives you an idea. Like, I will be all over this thing for the next few days. Working on this too, trying to put it all together. I wanted to go ahead and be working on it, but then I realized I couldn't start it until I did the stream. So I was like, I can work on it a little bit. It's okay. They don't need to see all of it, right? Right? Sorry. All right, let's take a look. So. So since we see the outside, I do like that. I have a buddy of mine, too, another artist, who is one of the best colorists I've ever met, and he's colorblind. because he actually sees the tones. It's not about actually color, because color in itself is an illusion, as he told me, and that it's all gray and whites anyway. We just have different tones put on top of it. But he used to say when he would watch me draw, I was like, you drive me crazy with this stuff. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, you kind of just don't want to commit to that line. He's like, you just, every time I'm like, it's fine, you know, you just keep doing it. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's kind of who I am. And then he goes, then sometimes I know why you do it, because you're like, I could do that better. So like I said, we're all different. He would have just put it down and been like, well, that's my line, I'm gonna work with it, and I'm gonna let the paint and color do everything, probably. And then where I'm gonna be sitting here like, oh, I don't like it, it looks like crap. Well, actually, I tapered that in there too much. Wasn't paying attention. Like I said, it's a problem about zooming in sometimes. Alright, so I'll go back and fix that. Alright, so let's take the sketch out for a second. So, the form of it is kind of coming together. Like I said, these belts need to be adjusted, but they're more natural. This one definitely needs some love, especially if you're going to use that. They're not contrasting well. But you can kind of see the form. There's the cloth. Here's the other arm, you know, which is a little wider. You know, we're cutting off some things. You know, the shoulder pads, and you know, so it's slowly coming into one thing. You'll get there eventually. But yeah, definitely gonna have to fix these belt buckles. But let's get on this line, because there's that line there. So it looks like I got some other stuff here. I'm gonna go back to my reference. So we have, you know, like this one indentation here, and it looks like in this one it curves back in, where over here it goes all the way, it goes like almost to the bottom of it, but for some reason it cuts in there. So I don't know if that's because of the asset and the way it was built, you know, turning, or is it just not showing everything, or was that an artistic choice where the asset covers up and goes inside and they just left the other one to go down? So that could be a model issue, who knows? So my question to myself is, do I keep it exactly and have this non-symmetrical where they don't both match type thing on that, or do I cover it back in and do it this way? Which I kind of like this one a little bit more than it just kind of blending off, because it looks like weird. But then again, we'll see how it looks on lines. And I still gotta put the little kind of brass buttons almost, it looks like. I know they're not brass, but that's why I'm associating with it. And then we gotta do all this wonderful stuff. And oh, I zoomed in. Hey, no critter. He's so happy. All right, back over here. Forgot I wasn't on the other piece. Alright, so yeah, it's like curves there. And I'm still gravitating to, I want to make this shoulder pads a little thicker on the lines, but I don't know. Let's see. That's a very, and this indentation right here feels, oh no, they're about the same width. Okay. So this is actually need to be a thicker line. Alright. Oh, I hit something. What did I hit? I actually hit the wrong button. Okay, let's get back on that. Oh, no, not that far back. layer was that on? Okay, that's that layer. That's that layer. Interesting. I clicked on the wrong layers. Hey, at least this one's still there. Alright. It's all going to work together at some point. And eventually what I would do, I know I got a lot of layers up right now. I will end up merging these layers together to save space and hard space and everything. Hard space. RAM and the hard drive and everything to save space so it'll process better. And then I'll go back and clean it up, and then I'll do another layer, and then I'll just keep building on it. Hard space. Oh Lord. Alright. So we're gonna curve this since that was very precise. Oh, that's very thin. Oh, that explains it. Yeah. It's kind of neat. So, yeah, it kind of curves in and makes a square. I wonder why they chose that. It's weird. Alright, let's go back. Wow, it keeps moving that up too. Go back to that. No, I don't want to move that. I want to move this. Thank you. Alright. Alt. Now again too, normally I have like the reference right next to it, but since you guys can't see what I see when I have the window over there, I may just have to do it that way for now. No, I don't want to do that. Stop doing that. Stop it. I want you to do this where it curves down. Thank you. Alright. Yeah. Okay, let's see how close we are. Yeah, I mean, it's not, this is more a straight angle, but I kind of like the fact that it kind of bends a little bit, you know, where it just kind of bulges out instead of just, you know. Again, I don't know, since it's not real, it's a model from a game, it might not be close, you know. It may just be something with the model, so that's the problem using 3D models sometimes as reference, just like using artwork as reference. It's always better to have a real life reference whenever possible. So it just gives it a better flow. I will probably too, as I do this, I'll go back and work on looking at leather. I have some other what's the word I'm looking for? Reference that of like leather materials and stuff like that, and I'll try to do it that way and see if I can match it up. You know, just depends. Like I said, when you got so much reference you're using, but since I don't want to sit here and bore y'all with all these multiple screens for everything, and it's just pretty much supposed to be like a demonstration, and you guys are gonna see me put this piece together on YouTube as well. This Sunday, I had someone ask, requested that I live stream there my art. So I'll be working on this piece there, and depending on where I'm at with it, I will probably continue on with it until I'm done. And, you know, and let you guys kind of see the whole process, you know, how I put it all together. We're gonna draw that in. Yeah. So right here on the brass little knobs or whatever, buckles, it looks like they're further up, and when I sketched it I had them further in and a little bit bigger, I guess, and going over here. So they're not really on the edge like they are on there, so they would actually be over there. So I may have to fix that. But again, this is kind of dealer's choice, you know, type thing, where you just kind of decide, do you want it exactly or not? If you're trying to be exact about everything, then yeah, you do. You need to keep up if that's what the piece calls for, or your client calls for, or you're trying to match things. But again, if you're doing stuff for yourself, you can take some artistic license, as we say, of it, which I am doing just a little bit, because I did cut them off, and that's not the cutout one I had, but I was like, yeah, this will be exactly what I need. Okay, so this is another thing too, what we call drawing through your figure, or drawing through the subject. You see, this is where you would see where that line would be. Now when I go back, I'll erase this out and it will still be the correct flow because it was there, but I will have the buckler in its correct location because I actually, you know, but if I didn't have that line there, it would be harder to judge where the placement for that is, if that makes any sense. So right now it's distracting me, so let's get rid of it. Oh, wrong line. I think I actually put it on layer 2 if I remember correctly. Yep, okay. So let's try to make this look a little bit better. Nope. Layers. So I'm trying to thicken out this buckle piece just a little bit, not too much, just to give it a little bit more thickness than what it had. Even though I like that line, but you know, just trying to give it more depth than what I gave it in that first initial stroke, you know, and curve it out a little bit more because, you know, it was curved in a little bit too much, and just trying to add some illusion of depth, if anything, and some better angles. And like I said, as you guys have been seeing, you know, I do a variety of pen tool, drawing, messing with the ink, painting with the ink brush, basically. You know, I just couldn't master it with an actual brush because I screw up too much. Okay. All right. So. Yeah, I see it. Don't know if you see it. I see it. Make that brush a little smaller. It's like it goes. So you got this nice little curve, and then it's like straight down. It's like it needs to be curved just a little bit more to my liking. Oh, this is gonna be one of those really funny angles, especially when you're doing it straight down. Let's see. I'm gonna try R again. Oh, look, chat. We got it rotating now. Maybe that's what crashed. Maybe somebody at Adobe was watching, going, "Oh crap, he's showing Adobe and it doesn't work." Yay, we got it rotating. Oh, what the heck? No, I really can't do it. All right. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna erase it. I don't like it. It's like, I don't like it. All right. Oh, look at it. It rotates. I'm so, God bless. Why didn't you do that earlier at the beginning of the stream? Oh, why? Why do you do these things to me? And again, I know some of you might be watching this going, man, that's very tedious. That's like, why? Why would you do that? Why do you have to take all that time? Is this what art is? No. Not for everybody. This is just the way I am. This is the way I've been. I mean, it's just how I work. I do take a lot of time to do things sometimes, especially if it's just something on my own. But again, you know, except when I'm working for somebody. But yeah, it's just, you know, I'm teaching myself things too. Just like I said, I've been forcing myself, as the past few pieces I've done, to rely on trusting myself to get better with my hands, even with my limitations or whatever. It doesn't matter. To just trust my own self, you know, grow as an artist, and be embarrassed that I did all that. Yeah, you see, my instinct right now too is to grab that pen tool right now. Like, I can finish it with the pen tool. I know I can. I can just get it done, move on. They don't have to sit here and watch me do this. But no, we're gonna get better. We're gonna grow. All right, now let's zoom out. And okay, so we have a little bit of an indentation problem right here where it loses its thickness. It's thicker in the wrong places. Some stuff right here looks wrong. Now let's center it. Let's go to reset view. See what it looks like from that angle. So we still got that. So glad the rotate tool is working now. Alright, so we're going to flatten it here where it would be maybe a little bit easier to draw in reality. We're going to curve this out right here. And we're going to erase this a little bit, thin that line. Okay, so we had that little dark little part here. Let's do this. See? Now my hand is more naturally because I'm not trying to draw at a weird angle. So, and we're going to come back down through here. We're going to thicken that out. We're going to line this up better. Then we're going to thin this out a little bit because there is going to be more of the way it's shaped, where it's positioned. You will see a little bit more of a line from the bottom end. It'll make sense in just a sec. At least I hope so. So you are going to have a little bit, but it's still got to show that roundness to me. And it's still got to pop a little bit more. than what I'm doing. I've erased too much out. That's easy to do too. But again, it's drawing with the eraser, drawing it out. You know, I'm not really just erasing, I'm drawing with it, trying to slowly put it all together. You know, trying to build that line that I'm after. So, or that ink line. So, let's see, we're going to take a little bit out here. All right, now, let's reset the view. Let's zoom out, see how it looks. So, it's thinner where it should be, it looks like. It gets thicker where it's supposed to be. I'm still not 100% with it. I'm still not completely happy with it. But it's a start. It may be fine. But again, it's one of those you just keep going and going and going. And I could be working on this piece. I could be up here doing the helmet. And then I'll see that little buckle over there. And I'll go, well, that thing's driving me crazy. And I may go back and work on it. I may go back and fix it. I may change it, you know, and that's okay. It's okay to do that. But what I've tried to get myself to do, because I used to be, the reason why I was pointing out being stuck on one thing, like I would be that person and I would be stuck on that one thing over and over. And I'm like, I gotta get this right. I gotta get this right. In the meantime, I'm not doing the rest of the work. I'm not getting it all done. You know, I'm just focused on this little tiny emlet that I didn't even use one time. And it's like, why do I keep doing this? It's a waste of time because it's going to change. It's just, you know, we don't do different drawings. It may, like, if I had stayed true to, like, oh, this is where the buckles were. Well, that's not where they were. I put them in the wrong location when I was sketching. Do I punish myself for that? No, you just pick up and move on. You just keep going and go, okay, this is what I did. Let's fix it and move on. Because again, a sketch, especially just a quick little sketch like that, is a template. It's just to get you going. You know, it's not the final piece. So don't treat it as such. You treat it as you would any drawing. You know, this is the beginning. This is the foundation. This is my starting point. This is not the final piece. Say that to yourself on a regular basis. If you're an artist and stuff and you get caught up like I do on things, remind yourself, this is not the final piece. This is not what it's going to look like in the end. All I have to do is just do the work. Just keep going. Keep tweaking. And the beautiful thing about digital is you can keep tweaking it all the time until you get to where you want to be. But you do have to come to a point that you have to just let it go and say, hey, this is the best I can do. This is the best it's gonna get. This is all I can do. So do I say I'm not any good? Do I punish myself for that? No, you move on, you do the next piece, and you do the next piece, and you do the next piece, and you do one, and you do it until you get better, and you grow, and you grow. Because, you know, I have tons of art that I've done that no one ever sees, because it's just sketches or studies or whatever. And, you know, I'll be showcasing a little bit more of those because I like to put my money where my mouth is. And to show people that, hey, yeah, this is ugly. I think it's ugly. I really don't want to show you this. I don't want to show you a non-finished piece. I want to be like, yeah, look how cool I am. Look how great it is. It's beautiful, isn't it? But that's not reality. That's not what people see when they do. I mean, that's what you get in the final. You know, and that's what people see all the time. And they think that, oh, wow, you know, they don't know the history behind it. They don't know how long it took that person, or they didn't see the Adobe crash and I had to restart, or, oh, I screwed up in this line, or I gave away a technique, you know, that I use. Like, oh, well, I wouldn't do that. You know, like I said, just like Silent Joe said earlier in the stream, you know, the pen tool is too tedious for me. I don't like it, you know, and he doesn't, you know, and that's fine. You know, I know some artists who absolutely love it. I know artists, she puts me to shame with it. And just like there's a lady I know, my cohort Kate, who's on YouTube, and she's doing her own animation. And she is literally finished with it now. We're in the process of recording. We'll be doing some narration and stuff for it, for the to be the narrator, which there's a lot better people than me, but she, for years, I thought she was doing everything by hand. You know, she was drawing it, she was putting it into the computer, and just kind of coloring it in Photoshop. No, this artist, she literally was drawing with the mouse. Now, if you see her stuff, which is under Kate Carver under YouTube, it's Gilla. You look at this stuff and it looks like hand-drawn 2D animation. That's what I thought. She's been doing it with a mouse because that's all she had. And she was stretching, so she would like draw a little bit, put it in the computer, scan it, use the mouse to try to, you know, move it around. You think using a pen tool is tedious? Try drawing with a mouse. That is amazing. But that's what her limitations were. That's what she could do. She didn't even have a tablet. I'm sitting here complaining about this Wacom tablet, and she didn't even have that. So again, you can use any tool, no matter what it is, to create your art. All right, so we did say we were gonna deal with this nonsense over here. I don't know what layer was on though. This is the fun part. Well, one, even though I love this little line, I'm gonna have to redo that line, but we'll come back to that. Where was this? Ah, it was on this layer. All right, now that my mindset's on that, make the little, we'll make it bigger. So we're gonna try this again, chat. All right, let's go back to the reference. Reference is your friend. Okay, so one of the things too I would try to do sometimes. All right, so I see it. I want to get that rhythm down, right? I want to know how this feels. So I'm going to draw over this thing right now and try to feel what it's like to match up with that. Now, that's all squiggly, blah, 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 right? You know, sure. Okay, so let's me drag that down. Now that my hand kind of knows, this is not always something that works, but it's kind of the way I do to try, because it's like muscle memory in a sense, kind of like learning combos in fighting games or whatever. It's kind of like you just gotta play with it. So I'm going to drag that over there, and I'm gonna look at what I did because I can see the line fully now. And I'm gonna see if I can emulate what I just did. Oh, might help if I put it on a thicker brush. That might be useful. What do you think, chat? You think that would be useful? Okay. Kinda okay. Not what I want. So, let's try that again. Still almost there. And then I want to do those curves. Now here's another thing I can try. Alright, let's try zooming out a little bit. See if that helps. Since I am going to force myself to do this by hand, because I am a crazy man, instead of doing it with a pen tool. I blame you, Silent Joe. I blame you. Alright. Let's see if I'm not zoomed in so close. Maybe I can loosen my hand up a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of okay. It's still very wavy, you know. And as someone who's done that, is what I want. I want something that's one stroke, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish. Is the one stroke method, and it just takes time. You know, that kind of worked out. You know, I want that one stroke. I don't want this. I don't want this wavy, my hand's all messed up crap. I wanted that one beautiful stroke. And even then, I had a little thing there. So, let me go back to my reference. Move this over so I can see. I really would need to figure out how to get these windows up for y'all, so y'all can see them as well. Okay. Alright, let's go back over here. So, kind of like a pass through. Like I want to pass through it. You know, but that's not what I wanted. Ah, that's what I wanted. Right there. So I didn't actually draw it. You know, I'm kind of just feeling the rhythm. Like teaching my arm and my hand the movement that I need you to do to make this line, to put it together. It doesn't always work, but you know, sometimes. So we're gonna take some of that out because that was actually gonna wind in. And again, this is one of the cool things. You can kind of erase it out and put it together. You know, now I got to. I'm gonna put the screenshot back so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So you see right here where it dents in and curves out. This is what I'm gonna try to emulate, and I drew over this so you can kind of just see the lines of what I'm talking about. And to not risk messing up this line, since I got that down, we're gonna make another layer. He's like, oh god, another layer. And we're gonna go over that. Okay. So let's rotate it. Ah, we're rotating. I'm feeling like that's the way I need to rotate. Alright, so I'm gonna do my little pass through, teach my hands. There we go. Just about. Needs this part though, needs to line up with that line. So we're almost there. That's a little closer. It does bend where I kind of want the bend to be, but again, it needs to come back up instead of being so straight. And my Control Z needs to love me right now. Okay, so let's follow through. Yeah, same problem. Too curvy. That's not what we were after. Cool. Now, here's another thing you can do. Y'all saw me do this earlier. Alright, take V. That's for move. And I'm going to move that over. This is why I say, you know, why I use different layers sometimes. So I can adjust things. And now, we're going to zoom in, reset it. I'm going to erase the part out that's going into the helmet. So I don't need that. We don't want that. Okay. Alright. Now I'm going to go to my other layers that those lines are on, that I did. And we're going to erase those out. So we end up with the line we want. And that feels more natural. That is another way that you can do it naturally, that you can use the tool sets that you have to kind of put it together, you know. And yeah, this is the way I work. I mean, again, there are artists that don't have to do this stuff. They can just get it done and they move on and they don't spend all this time. Well, I'm not one of those, and I know there's other people like me. So that's why I wanted to show like the whole process and how I do things, and to show that we're all different and that there are different ways of solving the same problems that we all come to when you're trying to put together a piece. All right, so it looks like I have been going over 2 hours, so I am going to call it here because unfortunately I have to work in the morning. But I am going to continue on with this piece, and I'm going to keep going with it. And like I said, I will be showcasing it here on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, this Sunday at 3 p.m., where I will be continuing on here. I may try to do a little bit more, so it's a little bit more done, but maybe not. But I'm going to keep working on it, and you guys are going to see pretty much every step of the way as much as I can show you. And we're going to go try to get it all inked, and then maybe I'll pop some color on it and put it all together. Let's put, I want to see the visor again real quick so I can see how that's going to all match up so you get to see the whole thing. As always, my friends, Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Be good to each other and never stop dreaming. Cheers.